So you want to jump into the market, sell your home quickly, and get top dollar. Let's talk about how you can do that. Can you sell your house in 0 days? Sure, why not? Let's do it. I just did it with a client of mine. Is this the norm? No, but I want to share with you his story because I think you can take a couple things from it and really, really run with it. So at the end of the day, you need to sparkle, you need to shine just a little bit more than your competition. And there's three categories that you can do that in. So the first one's going to be your price. And that doesn't mean that you need to be cheaper than your neighbor, but you need to justify it. So you need to be really, really aware of your comps, of what is sold, what is on the market, and be very strategic. If you are opening up a Florida room, for example, you can count that into your square footage, but not your public records. That was one tip that helped this particular seller. There's lots of different creative ways to do it, but you need to be just a little bit better than the competition, and you need to really justify your price because it is a very competitive market. And you're going to be chopped down if you're not ready for it. The second is condition. So you always need to match your condition with your price, and you need to let that be exposed. You need to let that condition shine. Staging your home is going to be such a huge tool to do that because you may have done some upgrades and they may not shine as much as you want them to. But if you stage your home, you put some pretty things in there, people can start imagining themselves using that space. The next is marketing. You have to have a good marketing plan because the other two, they're really worthless if you don't get it out there and market it. So obviously blasting it on the MLS, that'll go out to over 100 different websites. But there's also different strategies behind that. So from open houses to newspaper. Yes, in the villages I still use newspaper to advertise because people will come in holding the newspaper and saying, this is why I'm here at the open house. And even doing a blast to the neighbors. I do that about 1,500 to 1,800 mailers. So you're really creating this hustle, this bustle. Social media is a good tool as well. There's so many different ways you can tie it all together. But I want to share this story. So it was my sweet client's home. I actually helped him buy a home. So he was able to buy a home first and then sell this home. So it was a courtyard villa, and I put it live on the market 5:30 in the morning, and by 11 o'clock that morning I had already met the buyer. And yes, there were lots of things leading up to that. So I'll give you some tips when we're talking about condition that anytime I go into a listing, I'm going to probably give you these tips. But I don't expect you to do all of them. And my seller didn't do all of them, but this is huge. So when I go into a house, it needs to be neutral colors. So paint is very important. You want fresh paint. Even if you're just touching up the baseboards, that goes a really long way. Some nice white, fresh, baseboard trim paint goes a long way. So painting it, making it feel clean and open, decluttering, depersonalizing, staging it. If you do not have furniture in there, it's really hard for your buyer to come in and imagine themselves in that space. Your kitchen, you can get rid of the old appliances. If you can do that, get some nice stainless steel ones. That's going to go a really long way. This seller actually left his old original ones. Go figure. But in a perfect world, if you can get stainless steel appliances, that's going to be great. Knock down ceilings. So if you have popcorn ceilings, then that's going to be, a check mark that not everyone wants. And maybe that's not in the cards to be able to get that taken care of. That's okay. So even if you do one or two of these things, it's going to go a really, really long way. The idea is you want your buyer to come in and again just imagine themselves in that space. So there's so much behind it. Yes, we did get under market in 0 days. And I have another seller who actually went under contract, almost the same thing. We met our buyer on day 3. We got 2 offers, and we created a lot of excitement, and we actually got under contract within 6 days. And that seller too had a very similar story. Their neighbor down the street had the same exact model, and they were not able to sell. They were on market for over a year. They had to undercut their price as well, and they finally sold for under market value. So there are ways to, spend a little bit or do a little bit of effort that's going to go a long way. And maybe you can't. Maybe it's overwhelming and you just can't put that little bit of extra, money out there. There's creative ways to tie in credits or different resources you can use. But I'd love to help you if you have a home and you want to hit the market and not lose out, because nobody wants to do that, right? Especially if you bought in that COVID bubble a couple years ago, a few years ago. You really need to get strategic. So I would love to help you. I'll put my info in the chat. And if you're curious about the home that sold in 0 days, I can send you pictures or the links so you can see the video. It's just a beautiful home, and you might understand why when you see the pictures. So thank you for watching. Please feel free to like, share, or maybe you know someone who is thinking of buying or selling in the Villages. I would love to guide them through the process in any way that I can. So have an amazing day. Thank you for watching, and we'll talk soon. Bye.